Hey, Josh, I'm gonna share my screen. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Patricia. This is Eva.
Oh, hi, Eva.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. It's Amy.
Hi, Amy. Could you make me a host? Oh, you've made me a host?
I have not yet. I can make you a co-host in the meantime.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. And could my student panelists raise their hands, please, so I can elevate you? Trying to promote Leanne. Why isn't it working?
Oh, it's not?
Hold on. Promote to panelist. Can you promote Leanne? She with her hand raised.
Okay.
Can't. I don't know why it's not working.
Okay. Promote Leanne.
We will begin shortly. I have to promote all my student panelists. Patricia Laria, Chair of Schools and Ed. Thank you for being patient. Why isn't she being promoted?
Let's try.
Oh, I can't get her to come over. If there are any more student panelists, please raise your hand so I can promote you, please. Okay. We'll just give it a few more minutes. I'm waiting for some more to come in. It's not quite 6:30. I'll give it till 6:32 before we start.
Patricia Piper's here.
Okay, I'm trying to promote her. Oh, there, thank you. Thanks. And if I can have my student panelists put their names and their school. Okay, I've seen some of you have done that. Thank you. And let me see if I've got quorum. No, not yet. I'll give it some more time. Bird. Any more student panelists, please raise your hand so I can promote you. Did everyone come over? Any more student panelists?
Mariana Kagansky is here.
Okay, let me see. Any more student panelists, raise your hands, please, so I can promote you.
Mariana Kagansky is here.
Okay, thank you, Marianne. Just, could you put your school in with your name and mute?
Sure.
And then I'm just waiting for some more students. Hold on.
Trisha Ari's here.
Okay, thank you. Oh, come on, where's my link?
It's funny, but it like
And please mute students. Just put your school and, okay.
I think we have quorum now. Yes,
Do we? Oh, okay. I'm still Warren X.
we're at 5.
Okay, thank you, Mara. Let's see. Did I promote? I'm trying to, let's see.
Do you want me to check the list and see if there are any kids left?
Yeah, please.
All right, I'll do that. You can get started.
Oh, 101 participants. Wow.
Okay. There's one student that needs the link. Could you, somebody text it to me so I can send it to her? Oh, she's got it. Oh, okay. I'm waiting for her to. All right, then I'm looking for Izzy Pengray when she comes in, and then Augie Stackelberg a little later when he shows up. Okay, so what is the time? 6:34, so I guess we'll get started. Welcome everyone. My name is Patricia Laria, Chair of the Schools and Education Committee. And we started this panel a year ago in response to parents requesting more information about high school admissions because the DOE was late in providing it. We've continued it again this year because parents are only allowed to view high schools virtually. We've put together the student panel to help middle school students and parents going through this process now. But before we get started, I just want to take care of some housekeeping. I also wanted to introduce you to our committee members that I can see on the screen. I see Chino Tanakawa, I see Amy Brenner. Who else is here?
I'm here.
Rich, Matt,
Rich, oh, okay, Matt. Is anybody else here that I'm missing? Okay, well, if you guys could also turn your video off so that we can see our panelists. But before I start, let's go through what's the focus of this meeting. Students, what the focus of this meeting is, students experience not New York State DOE admission. what we know, that high school tours are still virtual. High school application and specialized high school registrations are via the My Schools DOE portal. DOE has not announced a deadline as yet. And the only thing that we can share from this meeting is the presentation, which I believe is live streaming now to Facebook. And I'm going to go through the meeting protocol. If you have any questions that are not covered, please type them in the chat, type them in the Q&A. Due to time constraints, we may not be able to get to all questions. Please be respectful to our student speakers. If you have a different view, you may ask a question. Every student has a unique and personal experience with their school. If someone doesn't have a good experience with their school, that does not mean it's a bad school. Please reserve the chat feature for any technical issues, not for comments. Attendees will be on mute. And here's a list of all of our student panelists. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see everyone on the screen. If my student panelists can turn their cameras on so we can see you, my student panelists. Okay. And Mara, there's one other student, Luna RC. She's having trouble connecting, so look for her when she comes in.
Got it.
Okay, wonderful. I see you guys. Thank you all for sharing your time and experience this evening. With that, I want you guys to introduce yourselves, share your name, pronouns, school, where you attend middle school, and if you were remote or in person this past school year. So I'm going to start with, who do I see? Mariana Kagansky. Is Mariana there? No, okay.
Yep, she's
Well,
here. She's here.
I see her.
She's muted.
Okay, unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, on behalf of my son, Adam Kagansky, he attend right now middle school PS 276, is Battery Park City School.
Oh, I thought you were a student presenter. I'm sorry, Mariana.
I'm sorry, I'm his mom. I'm on
Okay,
behalf
I'm going to have to
him.
demote you. I was looking for my student presenter.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
If you don't mind, I can attend the meeting.
You can attend. I'm just gonna, could we demote her back to an attendee? All right, I'll do that. All right, we'll start with another student, Madeline. We'll start with you.
Yeah, my name's Madeline and I go to Essex Street Academy and I use she, they pronouns. And did you say like this school year or last school year you wanted to know about?
Last school year, were you in person or remote?
I was.
And what middle school you attended?
I was like blended last year. So I did go in person sometimes. And then I went to middle school at IS 318.
Okay, thank you. And then I'll pass it on to Miles.
Hi, I'm Miles. I'm a senior at Harvest Collegiate. I go by he, him pronouns, sorry. And I was entirely remote since like you could go entirely remote.
Miles, what middle school did you go to?
Sorry about that. I knew I was forgetting something. I went to Manhattan School for Children. It's on like 93rd. I think it's like PS 333.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Miles. Daniel Velez.
Yep. My name is Daniel Velez. My pronouns are he, him. I'm in 11th grade and I currently attend Eastside Community High School, which is located in the Lower East Side. I attended middle school at IS 289. which is the Hudson River Middle School, and I was remote last year.
Thank you, Daniel. Piper, I'll punt to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Piper and I'm a senior at Millennium High School. I was remote until the spring and then I was blended learning 3 times a week going into school. And I went to Lower Manhattan Community Middle School near Wall Street.
Thank you, Piper. Olivia?
Hi, my name is Olivia Hardin. I'm a junior at New York City Lab High School for Collaborative Studies. For middle school, I went to Quest to Learn, and while schools were shut down, I was entirely remote. Oh, and my pronouns are she, her.
Thank you, Olivia. Warren Axelman?
Yeah, hi, my name is Warren Axelman. I use pronouns he, him. I attend Essex Street Academy and I went to IS 318 for middle school. I'm a sophomore, and for the majority of last year, I was fully remote.
Thank you. JP?
Hello, my name is JP Osborne. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am in 10th grade and currently attend the Clinton School. I was fully remote all of last year, and for middle school, I went to 75 Morton.
Thank you, JP. Erica?
Hi everyone, I'm Erica. I go by she, her pronouns. I'm a senior at High School of Art and Design, and I went to Quest to Learn Middle School, and I was completely remote last year.
Thank you, Erica. Ari?
Hi, I'm Ari Osmanai. I go by he, him, and I went to both Quest to Learn Middle School and high school. And last year I did blended learning.
Thank you, Ari. Leanne?
Hi, I'm Leanne, she, her pronouns. I'm in my last year at Bard Manhattan, and I went to Salk for middle school. Oh, and last year I was blended.
Thank you, Leanne. Oh, hi, Augie. You're next.
Hey, I'm Augie. I go to Harbor School. I'm currently a junior. I use he, him pronouns, and I went to MMFS for middle school.
Thank you. Alex?
Hi, I'm Alex Laraya. I go by he, him pronouns, and I attend School of the Future High School. I graduated from IS 289 middle school and was completely remote as of last year.
Thank you. Jasper?
Hello, my name is Jasper. I go to the Institute for Collaborative Education. I also went there for middle school. I go by he, him pronouns, and I think that's it.
Okay, thanks. Isabella?
Yeah, I go by either, so whatever is most convenient. Hi, I'm Izzy. I'm a sophomore at Eleanor Roosevelt. I go by she, her, and I went to Salk for middle school, and oh, right. I did blending learning last year for the first half, and then it shut down, and then I did blended learning for the second half of blended learning because I had a health thing, so I couldn't come in for the first little bit.
Okay, thank you, Izzy. Luna?
Hi, I'm Luna. I go by she, her pronouns. I'm a junior at Beacon, and I went to Clinton Middle School, and last year I was remote.
Thank you. And I think that's the full complement of student presenters. Thank you. And I'm going to our next question, which is, what is unique about your curriculum? Was it progressive, traditional, collaborative? And what appealed to you about your school when you applied to high school? And did it live up to your impression? So I'm gonna start with Piper.
So our curriculum, it's pretty much quite progressive. It's quite hard as well. When I was applying to Millennium, I knew that it was a hard and academic school. It focused a lot on grades and studying, and it did live up to my expectations. It is a hard school, but I have amazing fun there. So yeah.
Thank you, Piper. Daniel?
Yeah, so something that's unique about the curriculum at my school is that we don't do regents. They substituted out for a thing called PBATs and roundtables, PBATS is pretty much like a big project that you work on for weeks or maybe even months at a time. And roundtables is pretty much a presentation of any project that you have done that year. And you present it to either teachers, other students, past students, people that work in that subject and things like that. And that's something that really caught my eye.
Thank you. I'll go to Miles.
Our school is a consortium school, so just like Daniel's, we don't do regents. Instead of regents, we do capstones. So capstones are basically pretty similar to what he said. They're these big projects that are usually due towards the end of semesters, and they're sort of meant to represent what we've learned over the year, especially or in the course. And yeah, I'd say they're a lot better than regents because they're a lot more people friendly, you know, because you're able to work with your teachers one-on-one throughout the year with them, and really be able to grasp what you're learning. Along with that, we offer a music course as well. So from freshman year to senior year, you can take music. I chose guitar. I still play, but you can also do piano. You can do band as well if you have like a foundation, and I think they're doing like horned instruments as well right now.
Thank you, Miles.
Patricia, we have a request from the audience that students identify their school before they answer so that participants and the attendees know which school they're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. I mean, most of you have the school name in the screen name, but if you could just repeat that again as well.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I'll go to Izzy. You want to say you're from Elro?
Yeah, I go to Elro. One thing that I really like about my school is that a lot of the subjects and the things that we do are interconnected. So a time period or a place geographically that you'll be learning about in history, you'll be reading something about it in literature, or the math that you're doing will connect to whatever you're doing in science. A lot of the curriculum is really interconnected, and the teachers will talk about it, and it makes it a lot more interesting and engaging to kind of know a lot of the background of what you're learning.
Thank you. I'll go to Madeline and name the school you're with.
I go to Essex Street Academy, and we're also a consortium school, and so we do roundtables in your first 2 years and then panels in the second 2, and the roundtables kind of teach you kind of what panels kind of like are, and I really enjoy them because they help you with public speaking, and something that drew me to my school was that all of our classes are very heavily discussion based, which I find very interesting. So, yeah.
Thank you, Madeline. Warren.
Hi, yeah. Just like Madeline, I go to Essex Street Academy. We are a consortium school. One thing that appealed to me about the school when I applied was that they do have PBATs. It's not so much like testing, I would say. And yeah, I would say they've lived up to the expectations.
Thank you, Warren. I'll go to JP.
I go to the Clinton School. I think that the IB program, formerly called the International Baccalaureate program, is pretty unique. It's very similar to AP courses in the sense that it has the same rigor as college level courses in a high school environment. The IB course starts in 11th grade, which I'm not in yet, but it's clear that they're trying to prepare me for it. The main thing that differentiates it from AP courses is the larger workload, I'd say, but colleges should take this into consideration.
Thank you. Erica?
So I go to High School of Art and Design, and something I find really unique is I basically call art and design a miniature college. We do have majors at our school for students who are very heavy in the art portion of it. We can have fashion, illustration, architecture, so on and so forth. And because we are a CTE high school, which is a career and technical education school, we are very harsh in AP courses and AP honors courses. So we make sure that no matter what background or what grade point average you have, that you're eligible to take any of these courses. And as I mentioned before, we do have a lot of like miniature majors, and I'm part of the architecture department. And I really think that the students are very collaborative with the teachers, and we do work hand in hand to push all students forward. And that's what really attracted me to my school, because as an individual who's very goal heavy and ambitious, I knew from a younger age that this is what I wanted to do. And I had a lot of like-minded people around me that knew like, hey, I want to do illustration, or hey, I want to do fashion. I'm really passionate about how to make a Coke bottle logo. And so they came to art and design saying, teach me these skills. So when they go to college, they don't have to take first year art classes because they either graduate with that certification and say, I don't need to take first year classes at so-and-so college because I already learned it at a high school level. So yeah.
Fascinating. Thank you, Erica. Ari?
Yeah, one thing I found unique about Quest to Learn, is that it focuses on like a mission-based learning. So you attack like certain tasks with like group collaboration and many more activities to like, you know, go to the certain and like take down like the mission itself just by through what you learn throughout the year. And you can also take that and use it on your daily life things.
Thank you, Ari. Luna?
I go to Beacon, and something that's unique besides the fact that we're also a PBAT school, so we don't have to do regents, is that all of our classes are very like teacher led. So they kind of make their own curriculums. They have like that freedom to do so. But all of our classes are also based off of honors classes, whether or not they have the AP title or not. So you get that honors level learning without having to do the extra work of basically being in an AP class. And what attracted me to my school is that it's very project heavy rather than test heavy. So we obviously do get tests, but we don't as much as like the average school.
Thank you, Luna. Jasper?
So yeah, so I go to the Institute for Collaborative Education. So it's very collaborative. Like almost every class period, all the time, we're sitting at like a bigger table, or if it's the individual desks, they're like connected. So we're working in groups of 4, 2 to 4 people like all the time. Also super project based. We have cycle projects. There are 4 cycles at the end of every cycle where we like use all of the information we learned that cycle and like apply it with a group project or sometimes an individual project to like show our knowledge. And it's definitely not like we sometimes have quizzes, but like, the majority of it is project based. And also they don't just like give you homework to give you homework, like packets and things. It's more like towards the beginning of cycles, it starts off very easy. And then as it starts to get towards the end with the project work, you start to get work that you're going to need for the next day in class to like stay up. So it keeps you managing your time.
Thank you, Jasper. Alex?
Yeah, similar to the rest of the kids here, or most of the kids here. I still have this consortium school, but instead of like PBATs or roundtables or capstones, whatever you call them, we have something called exhibitions, which are very similar to all of the above. But you don't take anything the first 2 years. Just I'm pretty sure it's only the 11th grade year you take 2 exhibitions, one for your first term and then one for your second term, and you have to pass both to graduate. So it's your like graduating exam. So that's what's unique about our school.
Thank you, Alex. Augie?
So I also go to a CTE school, which means a career in technical education, as in they're going to prepare you for a job in the real world. Our school is called Harbor School, so we actually do a lot of focus on marine stuff, whether it's marine biology or aquaculture or vessel operations. We do a lot of different CTEs that pertain to the water. And I think that's very unique, and that's partially what helped draw me to the school.
Thank you. Leanne?
Okay, so BARD, I guess, pretty obviously unique in that it's an early college program. Unfortunately, we do have to take regents in the first 2 years, which I guess makes us pretty uncool around all the consortium schools that are here. But you get them all done quick and dirty in 9th and 10th grade. And then you have a high school diploma, which is exciting and pretty strange at first, but you get used to it. And then in the last 2 years, you are enrolled in BARD College. And I sort of thought that it would be just like college adjacent or just kind of something with a college feel to it or a structure similar to college. But applying to college now, I actually do have to, or transferring to college now, I have to like grapple with the fact that I'm actually in college, which is so strange. But the teachers are so engaged in what they're doing in the college program, in the high school program too, but in the college program, they can teach what they've built their academic livelihood around. And it's really just like a gift to be able to experience that. And I think it's much better than anything I could get in a traditional high school.
Thank you, Leanne. Okay, I'm moving on to our next question. And the next question is, what is one thing you love about your high school? And I'm gonna go to JP for that one.
Should I say what school I go to again?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I go to the Clinton School. I really like the balance between ease and rigor. For instance, if you submit anything late, you can get a maximum grade of around 70, which hasn't been an issue for me yet, thank God. But if you have an issue with an assignment, you turned it in and didn't do so well, there are many opportunities for you to improve upon that grade. As well as this, assignments are occasionally graded on a curve, which is so much better for harder classes. So as long as you participate, you do what you're supposed to do, you are given many opportunities to pump up your grade.
Thank you, JP. Erica?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, it's kind of like a miniature college, which is what really drew me to the high school. But I think I like to say to upcoming 8th graders that there is a place for everybody and anybody at Art and Design, because we draw so many light-headed people that no matter how crazy or unique you may find yourself, there will always be a place for you. And for me personally, what I find really interesting about my high school is that we don't just keep it in the classroom, is that we involve so many people and organizations and companies from outside the high school into your major. As I mentioned before, I'm in the architecture major, and I got one-on-one experience with one of the biggest architecture firms in New York City. It's called Skidmore, Owens & Merrill, through a program called ACE Mentorship Program, where schools can collaborate with architecture firms, and we work together to create hypothetical buildings and situations. And it was really honestly one of the biggest eye-opening things I could have been with, because I got to have the most experience possible in high school. I'm not even in college yet, where usually you would have these experiences, or even outside of college. So the biggest thing that Art and Design really provides is tons and tons of outside fields that come into your school, and you get to work with actual people in the field. And another thing I like to mention is that the teachers, they can't work at Art and Design unless they're already in the field. So all my teachers are licensed architects. All the fashion designers are actually fashion designers. All the graphic designers are actually graphic designer teachers. So you get to work every day with someone who's in the field 24/7. And the teachers are very open about their careers as well. So they'll have a whole lesson just talking about, all the clients and the people that they deal with on a daily basis. And that can be your whole lesson for the day. So I think that's the biggest thing that Art and Design really provides. It has a great curriculum, amazing people, but really focuses on giving you the standard education that you need and more, with the AP courses, honors courses, but also adding on to the CTE program with art departments. And then on top of that, gives you teachers that are really in the major 24/7 all the time. So yeah.
Thank you. Ari?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Go to Quest Learn again. But I was gonna say one thing I love about Quest Learn is how kind and down to earth the teachers are. I'm very, for example, me, I'm very comfortable with speaking to my teachers not only about academic problems or just anything in school based, but also about problems I have in my personal life, so outside of school. So that's something I find very important, to have a good connection with your teachers.
Thank you. Olivia?
Something I love about my high school is definitely the teachers. I go to lab, by the way, sorry. And also how small the school is, because it allows me to connect to the teachers and the peers more, because a lot of times when it's a bigger school, at least for me, I feel like it's harder to be able to know everybody. And I know people who go to big schools and don't know everybody in their grade, and maybe some people like that better. But for me, being able to really connect with the teachers, who are also a big part of the lab community because of the way they like they set up so many extra office hours. Like they do lunch, they do before school, after school. They even have like Saturdays where you can come and get extra help. And that just shows how much they actually care about the students. And they also care and understand that we are teenagers and we have our bad days, and they tell us, they're like, listen, if you're having a rough day, just like let us know. We're not gonna yell at you. Like we're not gonna like cold call you or whatever. Like we understand. And so they just really care, and like that's something that shows and makes it feel less of like a really like strict school and more of like a community, which is really nice.
Thank you, Olivia. Warren?
Hi, yeah, Essex Street Academy. One thing I love about ESA is that it is project-based. I found myself in middle school struggling a bit with the tests and how we'd be graded on our understanding of certain topics by a few questions on a piece of paper. I find it a little bit relieving that we're graded in a different way here at Essex Street Academy.
Thank you, Warren. Miles?
Hi. I go to Harvest Collegiate High School. And something I really love about the high school. So I transferred around a bunch in my freshman year. And anybody who's transferred knows that's like really, really hard to do, because you have to come in and you have to adjust to a new curriculum, new classes, and make new friends and sort of be a teenager while you're doing it. So my first day at Harvest was the day after like Christmas break, right? The first day was, started the second semester, or I don't know, whatever it was, right? A whole new people, new kid, and I had no clue what was going on. Within a week, I had friends that are still my friends, So what I really love about my school is the community, right? We really do have a community here, and it's not to say that other schools don't, but I feel like for any student, right, you can come in and you can find somebody there that's your person, right? Whether it's a staff member, whether it's a counselor, whether it's another student, anybody really. I really think that with all the high schools that I've been to, Harvest really sets itself apart there. And yeah, I love it here. So yeah.
Thank you, Miles. Izzy?
I go to Eleanor Roosevelt. I think my favorite part about my school is that there's a real effort on behalf of everyone to try to make it feel like a community. It's not a very big school. My grade has, I would say, probably in the like 100, like around 100 kids in it, about there. So it's not a large community. Like I know the names of everyone in my grade. Like it's a pretty small school, but there's a big effort on behalf of the teachers to really make us feel welcomed and to make us, feel comfortable in the environment. Like my English teachers, we start every class with a meditation, and it's just like a great way for them to show us that they care about our mental well-being and how we're doing. And my first period teacher for AP World History, she asks everyone how the trains are doing so she can mark people as late only if they really are late, and tries to take into account the stress that everyone feels. And it feels like they really care about how we're feeling and not just our grades and how the school looks.
Thank you, Izzy. Madeline?
Yeah, I go to Essex Street Academy, and what I love about the school is, again, like a bunch of other people have said, is like the community that there is there, especially with the teachers. For example, like last year, like it was the middle of the pandemic and it was my first year there, so I was really scared that I wasn't gonna get to meet anyone. But my teachers were super helpful and they were super engaging, and like they talked to me, and anything that I needed, they like gave me. And then this year, like if they notice a student is struggling at all, they like talk to them, they try to get them any like resources that they need in order for them to learn better. So I just think that's really awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Daniel?
Yeah, something I love about my school is the opportunities that they provide, not only in the school but outside as well. There are many opportunities for different career paths. Like I said, I'm in the 11th grade and I just applied for a Morgan Stanley 2-year internship, which is something that I'm interested in. I was also accepted into a free SAT prep program provided by the school that I start attending this Wednesday. And so there's just many different opportunities in our school, whether it be something academic wise or outside. Practical. There's just a wide variety.
Thank you, Daniel. Piper?
One thing I love about my school is the diversity. There's actually a lot of first and second gen kids at my school. That's the majority of them. And it's a lot of Asian Americans, Hispanics, and also European Americans at my school that take up actually the majority. Not that like, no, if you're third gen or if you're not from like somewhere in the world, like you could obviously still go. Obviously, the majority are those. And also that what creates it is because you have such a diverse community. We have clubs like BLSU. We have the Jewish club, which is now open, that opened this year. There's also Chinese culture club, Japanese culture club. So you actually get a array of a whole bunch of clubs to experience as well with that. And also that I have multiple friends who don't even speak English at home, whose parents don't know it. The main languages spoken at home and at my school are actually Spanish, Mandarin, or Cantonese, and that they actually translate for their parents during parent-teacher conferences. And I just have friends whose parents or grandparents are from literally every part of the world you could think of. So it's really amazing.
Thank you, Piper. Leanne?
So one of the things that I love about Bard is just the sheer respect and admiration that everyone at the school has for like learning and the learning process. And I know it seems kind of expected for a school for people to enjoy learning. But we have every opportunity is a learning opportunity at Bard. We have every Wednesday during last period, our auditorium is open to the entire community for Dean's Hour lectures, where we get someone from the academic community, the Bard community, anyone really to come deliver a talk about anything at all. And everyone comes and we take notes and there are questions and it's the whole thing. We've had all sorts of people come over. Office hours are essentially any hour that you don't have a class. You can always email a teacher about anything you're interested in and they will send you like 50 articles and like a recorded lecture from some kind of conference and book recommendations and maybe like added into the curriculum for your class. And we've got all sorts of tutoring, but that's a question we'll get to later. And everyone just loves learning and you can tell, like people are sitting in the library studying and the teachers sometimes come in and just watch everyone, watch the learning occur, watch the knowledge just be absorbed and applied. It's really great.
Thank you, Leanne. Augie?
So at Harbor, one of my favorite parts is definitely, I'm in the professional scuba diving CTE. And so I think it's very unique. We are the only country other than a private school in Hawaii with a scuba diving program. Sorry, only school. And I think that's really unique and I really enjoy being able to dive in New York Harbor. And the community that we've built in all CTEs, you kind of have friends for life with the people there.
Thank you. Alex?
Yeah. One thing I love about my school is like how inclusive the extracurriculars are. In 9th grade, I was part of the baseball team, the basketball team, and I joined a robotics club. And at first, I only knew like one kid that came with me from middle school, and it was like very easy to make friends. Like I think club started like 2 weeks in, and by like the first month of school, I already had people to text every day about work and questions. And so I just found that very helpful, and it still remains for new students. And this year, I made a business and economics club. I have people joining, friends joining. I have freshmen learning about it and wanting to join too. So it's like the entire extracurricular side of our school is like, I don't know, it's big about community. And our guidance counselor, Felix, he's very like, he looks out for a lot of kids. Last summer, I wanted to join a college business course from Baruch, and I missed the deadline to join. I asked him about it, reached out, and he got me a spot on the wait list. Next thing you know, I'm taking the course, and it was really educational, and I enjoyed it a lot, and I thank him for that. And he does that for a lot of kids. There's always like extra stuff he reaches out for. I know kids that just transferred this year that are like having trouble adapting, and he's always helping them with that. Like he's always available. He's always a person to look out to. So
Thank you. Jasper?
I go to the Institute for Collaborative Education. I really like the music program at my school. We get electives every day of the week except Wednesday. So that's a lot of time put into something you're passionate about. Right now I'm in songwriting. So we're like, we work on a song, develop it with a little band every day of the week except Wednesday. And then we perform them all on Friday, what we made that week. And like, it's like a little like show, like everyone goes and everyone's all supportive. It's pretty fun. Like everyone's saying, there's a big sense of community, but like also outside of just the grade, it's also a small school. So that's why there's like a bigger sense of community. Like the sports teams are fun. Chess club, that is a thing. You know, you can just make clubs if you want to make them. Also really fast, for the second half of 12th grade, you only go to school 1 day a week on Fridays, I believe. And you have an internship. And that's what you're doing. And you like, they teach you how to apply for them, and like they help you out. And if you can't get any, you can also intern at the school and help out in like with certain teachers or whatever. But really you can get any internship you want that follow certain guidelines, and then you just come in on Friday and like report your hours of work and all that. And that just sets you up for the real world after.
Thank you, Jasper. Luna?
Yeah, I go to Beacon, and one of the things I like the most about it is just like how much fun we have. Like, yeah, it's a rigorous school, but at the same time, we have like around like 100 clubs where you can do serious things, but at the same time, like you can just hang out with people. And we have like a bunch of recording studios in the basement where people just hang out and do their thing. And we have a bunch of electives, so it's just really fun to be able to have your pick of other activities. And I also really like our community service requirements because it helps us a lot for college, and it provides us with a bunch of experiences.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our next question. What is one thing you would change about your school? What kind of student would not feel supported or able to succeed? And I'm gonna give that to Izzy.
Truthfully, and this is something that a lot of the other schools that were talked about on this panel didn't have. Elro's by the way, I go to Elro, sorry. Elro is very test-based. It's not really a project school. If your kid isn't someone who's a very good test taker, I honestly don't recommend applying, because I am someone who's always been a pretty good test taker, and I haven't been so good with projects, so it's a good fit for me personally. But a lot of kids are better with projects, and there's not one that's better or worse, but there are schools that are going to be good fits for different kids. And I see kids in my grade or in the grade below me, the grade above me, who are taking classes and who didn't fully register that aspect of the school when applying, and aren't so great with tests or don't really work with that form of education. It's very standard and it's very classic. And if you're someone who isn't such a good test taker or really prefers that kind of project-based environment, I don't really think that this is the school for you.
Thank you, Izzy. Miles?
So I had to think for a long time about this one because like I said, like the community here is really, really great. And so I've got friends from all over the spectrum in terms of like where they're from, background, stuff like that. And on top of that, we've got clubs that have basically, I mean, it's like from band to basketball, right? Like there's a club for everybody here, you know? But so sort of what I settled on was, you know, something that our school prides ourselves on is inclusivity and basically just community is something that I guess I'm going to keep coming back to. But you know, you can never have a perfect school and you can never have a perfect community. So I'd like us to keep developing that, and that's how we maintain such a good environment for new students. Just keep working at it.
Thank you, Miles. Madeline?
Yeah, so I go to Essex Street Academy, and I would say that the one thing is, in order for you to get like higher work, you kind of need to be self-motivating and kind of ask the teacher about it. So if your student isn't someone who like kind of can motivate their self to do like extra work, but like wants to do harder stuff, it might be kind of difficult. So yeah.
Thank you, Madeline. Daniel?
I go to Eastside Community, and I said that a student may struggle at times, maybe working together. I think that the school, since we focus on a community-based school and we work together a lot, students that may be a little bit shy or maybe not as talkative or maybe not somebody who likes to work in groups, may struggle. Not saying that 100% of the time you're in a group, as there are a lot of times where you are doing independent work, but you are put into groups during projects and things like that. So students that might be or that might like to work on their own, this school might not be for them.
Thank you. Piper?
One thing I think I would change about, or sorry, I feel like one type of student that would not feel supported or be able to exceed in my school is someone who would get a lot of anxiety or like depression out of school, or, like take test taking, because Millennium offers all of our classes are honor classes besides our APs, and so students expect a lot. Teachers expect a lot from students to be ready and like to be prepared. And I think that I have my best friend that's really anxious about tests and really anxious about like failing. And she does not feel like it's good if she has a 70 or an 80. And that honestly, the school is not a good fit for her. And she feels like she can't do that much because the teachers try their best, but in all honesty, the students are expected to pull their weight and learn and be prepared and study and know what's being taught.
Thank you, Piper. Leanne?
One of the things about Bard that I think might turn some people away, definitely didn't turn me away though, is Bard College doesn't offer grades below an A, so they don't offer above an A, so they don't offer A pluses. So the highest grade you can get really is a 95. So I would not recommend Bard to a student who is very attached to their GPA or wants to keep their grades very, very high for whatever reason, or maybe I would recommend it so they can get over that. But if you are someone who, or if you're someone who's going to just sort of shut down after you get a C, Bard might not be the place for you, because ninth grade and then the first year of the college program is when a lot of people get their first Cs, and it's an important reckoning for them. So I think just if you struggle with grades, or if you want to have a really high GPA for college, or want to have that 100, Bard might not be the place for you.
Thank you, Leanne. Erica?
So for my not so good test takers, art and design is the place for you. I personally struggle so much with testing, and art and design has been a lot better. But the things I don't like about art and design, while it is a great school and supports everyone, you kind of have to have a sense of knowing who you are and what your passion is, because I feel like while we have a foundation program the first year to get you used to all majors, it's only a year, and I know that in the short time we've been on this earth, we still are figuring out what the heck we want to do. And so it's really a place for people who really know who they are, and there's a lot of bold personality. So for my introverted people as well, my sister who attends the school, she's very introverted and has met many people, but it may be harder to meet your people or to find your friends, but it's not impossible. So also for IEP program, it's been really good. Your parent may know about it, or you may know about it. It's for extra help, etc. So that may help you out a lot in art and design. But I really think the biggest struggle is you really need to know where you want to go in your life in terms of career or passions, or you have to be passionate about art in general if you want to make it at art and design. But other than that, I think it's great.
Thank you, Erica. JP?
I go to the Clinton School. It's very rigorous, and I don't think that's for everyone. Every unit in every class ends with a test or a quiz. Some of them are put in the unit itself. So the students that don't do so well test taking, this might be a difficult school to go to. But if you can balance the workload and your social life, hobbies, and free time and homework, you can balance all of that, then I think you'll do fine.
Thank you. Jasper?
So I go to the Institute for Collaborative Education. It's a super small school. So if you want a bigger school with more people and like a bigger community, I don't know, then it's not the place for you because it's very small. And if you're not so good at working in groups and would rather just be able to like kind of do your own thing and like work on your own time, then it might not be the place because everything is with others, Also, if you're not so good at managing your time, it might get harder or challenging. But I mean, I don't think anyone is like naturally good at that. So you just got to figure it out. But I mean, that can get overwhelming too. So yeah.
Thank you. Alex?
One thing I would change about my school, honestly, nothing comes like the top of my head curriculum wise. And I don't think many kids aren't supported. I feel like kids with IEPs or any type of learning disability, they're very like wellly supported, however you phrase that. But because I mean, someone like me, I have no problem learning, but whenever I fall behind or just decide not to pay attention, I can easily reach out for an extension. And 90% of the time I'm granted it. It's because teachers are so like down to earth, their students, they understand how hard it is, but that doesn't take away from like how much time you still have. I still have a lot of free time. I remember like 9th and 10th grade, I had lots of free time. There was like tests, I think, at the end of every unit, yes, but I think in every week we used to have tests like I think on every Friday, and I used to have lots of time just to study for them and prep them, and I'd be perfect on that. And then now I'm just lacking, and that's a me thing. But teachers, they're a thing to fall back on, and so I think that's very well for a lot of students. And there's not much I would change with my school.
Thank you. Augie?
So because my school has so many unique programs, you do have to sacrifice a few standard programs like art, you only get it in 9th grade. A language, you only have one option, which is French, and that is only in 10th grade. And then there's no music program, sadly. But you do have 7 very unique options that I think make up for the fact that you're losing those classics, like marine policy and ocean engineering and scuba diving.
Thank you, Augie. Ari?
Yeah, hello. I just wanted to talk, I go to Quest to learn. And I just want to say that if you're someone that is more based on independent work, Quest Learn more revolves around, group collaboration, working together. And although that, I'm not saying that people who are independent can go to school, because this school encourages people that, are more focused on independent work to enhance their thinking and communication skills to an extent. But yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Luna?
Yeah, I go to Beacon, and I think the one thing is that there isn't a lot of structure in the sense that it's like a very choose your own adventure type of thing. Like,
Can you, Luna, could you speak up? I can't hear you too well. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So Beacon's a very much like choose your own adventure type of school. Like there's a lot of different opportunities. But if you benefit from structure, it might not be the place for you. It definitely depends on the teacher. There are some teachers that structure is very apparent, but most of the time you kind of just do your own thing, and there's not a lot of deadlines, and you kind of have to take charge of it yourself.
Thank you, Luna. Madeline, did I ask this question of you? Okay, then the next question is, how is your school addressing academics and social emotional learning, creating community. So I'll start with you, Madeline.
Yeah, in terms of like the social emotional stuff, we have a really amazing like a team of like social workers that we can talk to like whenever we want. And also I remember last year, we have like a clinic in our school and they would let you like come in to be on Zoom with like your therapist if you couldn't like talk about these issues at home because you were scared that like your parents were going to hear you or something. And teachers are like super understanding, like if you need to like miss a class or something to talk to a social worker. And they're very worried about like your mental health and like anything they can do to like help you out, they will.
Okay, thank you. Ari?
I just wanted to say, I go to Quest to Learn once again. I say the Quest to Learn addresses academics and social emotional learning by just, allowing students to, work in groups with people, but also focus on their just make sure that their emotional learning is also well. And by doing that, they also prepare students for like the real world. So just, just real world tasks. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Jasper?
Socially, everybody is, because it's such a small community, there's nothing specifically. There is a school counselor and it is very, everyone's open to talking. I definitely, it was just like how if you have to shoot your teacher an email during like online learning, you can just go after class to whatever teacher you need to talk to, and they will almost definitely be willing to talk at that moment or just be able to set up a time to talk later. I do it all the time. If I need to like talk about, brainstorm an idea for something or ask if a teacher would be willing to read over my first draft of a project, they're super willing to do that and get it back to you just because they do want the best for you and they want to help you as best they can.
Thank you. Piper?
Okay, so I think basically, as I said before, my school is very academic and we take our academics pretty seriously. We actually have an inside joke between the students, no pain, no gain. And it's like a thing where it's really actually good bonding because we all kind of feel very under pressure, but it kind of makes us want to work more together. It's like we all get through the finish line together. So it does create a sense of community. I've actually met a lot of my friends through like studying for the test. Expect a lot of homework. We get about 4 to 5 hours of homework, around 3 to 5 on a good day. And because of COVID, it's lowered to 2 to 3. But yeah, and I think also that not just academically, but we also have a lot of clubs that create great community, and we do activities and advisory. The other day we were playing Pictionary, which is actually one of my advisory's favorites. And advisory is made up about 20 kids, and you actually get to know each other pretty well. And I haven't even had a class with them, like half of them, in my 4 years at Millennium, and yet I do know them pretty well. So yeah.
Thank you. Miles?
So my school, I go to Harvest Collegiate again. Over the pandemic, everybody, as everybody in this call knows, it was really rough for everybody, including the students. And we actually had our counselors reach out to us like one-on-one. Like I got a text from one of the counselors and like, hey, is everything all right? Would you like to talk about it? Right. And I'm assuming that well, I'm not assuming, I know that most of the other students, if not all of the other students, got similar texts, if not texts, emails, on top of that, a lot of students have mentioned the counseling. We've got 4 counselors or social workers. The doors are always open. They're very, very easy to talk to. They're phenomenal at their jobs. And on top of that, we've got a school psychologist who comes in and is available to talk to as well. This school's always been very conscious of students' mental health even before COVID. So every teacher is understanding. If you say like, hey, I need a meeting with so-and-so, like counselor's name, the teacher's like, all right, go ahead. I mean, obviously within reason, but I've never once been told you cannot go to the counselor's office or you can't take a mental break or whatever, because, it's been so considerate and knowledgeable on it.
Thank you. Daniel?
Yeah, so for addressing socially and emotional learning and creating community, my school has always been about community, hence it being in the name Eastside Community. And a way that the school does it is by making students try to work together to the best they can. Like I was talking about earlier, in groups, you're usually talking with other people and trying to communicate, and it works as well during like presentations, how it helps on public speaking, and so it's a way that can help benefit a student in a way that they're better at talking.
Okay, thank you. Alex?
Yeah, back to that same question Daniel just answered about social and emotional input in like your school. Every Friday, the first period class is circles, and I'm pretty sure the entire school does this. It's not just our grade. It's where we dedicate an entire period to students talking about the issues they have, like with mental health, their school, our school, and like what we could improve on. And it goes right back to the student body and also right back to our principal. And I feel like it always ends up in change of something. Like we just got a new grading system based on, I think, complaints from 9th and 10th graders. And it wasn't hard to adjust to, but I heard that it helped the like education basis for a lot of kids outside of 11th grade. And so I think that's how that works.
Thank you. Warren?
Hi, yeah, Essex Street Academy. I would say that at ESA, all staff is very focused on community building. There's a lot of activities we do during the school day that is revolved around just getting to know your students and even teachers just a little bit better, so that you can be there and support each other. In one of our classes, we actually have a check-in every day. It's optional, where we're allowed to share how we're feeling and why. I feel like that's pretty helpful, just so that I can get it off my mind. It's just nice to know that the teachers are also there for you.
Thank you, Warren. Leanne?
So because BARD's program is accelerated, it's a little bit quick at first, especially, and transitioning to the college program can be difficult. It's a big step. It's a completely different approach to learning and approach to education. We have already, pre-pandemic, we had a lot of academic supports in place. We have tutoring, which is also, I guess that's part of my favorite part of BARD as well. Tutoring and asking for help is completely destigmatized at BARD. I can't even imagine having a stigma on those things anymore, honestly. And there's absolutely zero competitiveness, which is rare at a school with like a rigorous program like BARD. But we have we have a peer tutoring program where you get approved in subjects to tutor your peers. So it's not like you're not like coming to the faculty office and sitting there with your teacher. It's very much a heart to heart. You're on the same level with the person who's tutoring you. So we're all helping each other, and we're actually known for our writing center, because we have a very, very serious writing program. We do a lot of writing, and it can be tough for people who come in from middle schools that maybe didn't have a lot of formal writing. And these might be their first essays that they're writing in 9th grade at BARD. So we have a dedicated writing professor who sits in the library at the writing center, and trained writing center peer tutors. I'm writing center peer tutor, and it's been fantastic. And we read over people's essays, offer writing support. So it's a really learning community. We also, after the pandemic, got a social worker who is fantastic. She's just sort of been walking around meeting everyone. And so we have a lot of safety nets and supports in place if you're struggling socially, emotionally, or academically.
Thank you, Leanne. Luna?
All right, so I go to Beacon, and well, even though we are a bigger school, we have about like 400 per grade. We are split up into advisories of about like 15 kids. And our particular grades are also split up into 4 different parts where each part has their own counselor. So it's about like 100 kids per one counselor. So Beacon really doesn't feel as big. And classes are also structured so there will never be more than 27 kids in your classes, and every single teacher will definitely know your name and know you as a person. And I would say that our teachers and our advisors are really attentive, and anybody who goes to our school can really agree on that. And additionally, we have peer tutoring, and for freshmen, we have a program called Big Sibs, where freshmen are paired up with seniors who will like guide them and make them feel more comfortable in their new environments.
Thank you, Luna. Erica?
So during COVID, I guess we can all agree that like mental health was a big issue, especially for students who did usually thrive during school. I know personally, someone who generally enjoys school at some moments, I really did struggle mentally. And at a school it's 1,500 kids, it's almost like you're just like swallowed and you aren't seen. But online I was able to talk to certain teachers who weren't even counselors. I had a moment where I spoke to my English teacher, and her and me, we talked literally for probably an hour or so, maybe every 2 days, just to catch up on mental health, because she understood that like, this is a student that usually thrives, but is just not doing well. And it wasn't even her job to take care of my mental health, but as a person, as a teacher, and as a role model, she was there for me. So using that information, I went back to school this year, and I talked to my guidance counselor and said, look, I really struggled mentally during COVID, and I really think I would like to talk to somebody. So we have a program at our high school called ABC, and it's literally free therapy. You are assigned a therapist, and they talk to you, I think it's once every week on a free period, either a gym or SAT prep or wherever you find fit. You can talk to that person during school hours if you just need to de-stress and let go and talk to somebody. And yeah, as I said, in a school of 1,500 kids, it's almost like you're not seen. So on a lighter note, to have more community, we have a lot of events. We recently had a COVID-safe freshman mixer and a Halloween get together. I think it was about 200 kids, even though we could house like 500 in the gym. Yeah, so it was a really good experience to see the school kind of coming back together and thriving as one, and really supporting each other mentally and in a fun way. So
Thank you, Erica. Augie?
So at Harbor, we are a relatively small school. I would say we have around 500 students. And being a relatively small school, I know most of the juniors and seniors, and because of remote last year, I don't know many of the sophomores and freshmen, but that is quickly changing. I think it's really great how you can learn about most of the kids in your school. And yeah, I think that's a really great thing about my school.
Thank you, Augie. JP?
I go to the Clinton School. My school is doing a great job at addressing academics. They're very welcoming if you have any sort of issue, which is a major plus for students that have more difficulty in class. As for the social emotional aspect, my school focuses on it a ton. In advisory class, we would spend time talking about how we felt that day and learning about our feelings and such, sort of like a therapy session. If a student is feeling stressed or worried about an assignment, there are many teachers and staff members, including your advisor, that will have your back.
Thank you. Olivia?
When it comes to like the social emotional learning and stuff, we have this thing called Family Circle, which happens every other day. And it's like it's like an advisory where you can kind of just talk with a certain teacher and you get checked in academically, like emotionally. We ask questions to see how like everybody's kind of doing. We ask how everybody's week is. Other than that, we have really good guidance counselors who allow you to just like, if you're having a stressed out day and you can't like focus or something, you could just sit on their couch for a little bit and like talk to them, and they're super understanding. when it comes to creating a community, Lab does that very well. Like we have all these special days like World Majority Day, Sports Day, AIDS Action Day, where we either play games, like spread awareness, celebrate culture, which is a lot of fun because it's all led by students. For like sports days, like where all the grades are against each other and then you go against the teachers, and it's very like, it's just an extremely fun day. And then the other days are like workshops run by other students. It's all mixed grades, so you really get a sense of just like not seeing each other like based off grade. Like you get a whole mix, and it's really nice to be able to connect. Plus with like the lot of clubs that we have, like, and you can create your own club, and you have this club fair where you can go around, and it's just a lot of fun. So Lab does feel like a community, even like if you're not part of a club. So yeah.
Thank you. Izzy?
So LRO is really mental health based. So for one thing, our advisories meet once a week, and it will be the same group of about 20 people for all 4 years, as well as the same advisor. And the topics for advisory, sometimes they're pre-planned out, but they can also be predetermined by the students. So sometimes we'll get surveys asking what we feel that we need to talk about, and those topics will be addressed. And I think that's a really good way for the school to connect with the students, because we're not just talking about what they think we need to hear, we're also speaking about what we feel needs to be addressed. Another thing is the guidance counselors are very much involved. We have the wellness center, which I think is on the 4th floor, that has a couple of guidance counselors in it that students can go to at any time in the day just to talk, and the teachers will let you go during class, because it's really important at LRO to have to be mentally healthy and to not feel overly stressed, as we do have a lot of work. So there's a lot of ways for students to talk about how they're feeling and to de-stress. They do mental health art in the wellness center some days during some lunch period. So that's also a really nice way for them to kind of let the students de-stress during the school day.
Thank you, Izzy. So I know I'm taking up a lot of your time this evening, guys. I appreciate you sharing all this. So we're almost at the end, and we're going to the lightning round close. And there's 2 more questions. And this first one is, what is the one thing you wish someone had told you about your school? Piper?
Okay, so this was actually a really hard question for me because my brother actually is 4 years older than me and actually went to the school right before I did. So I kind of knew the ins and outs already when I came. But in general, he didn't tell me everything. So one thing I actually wish that I did know about is that you definitely need to be time managed in my school. And I know it's gonna be hard, but I actually was on a sports team and I have friends, and I had like 3 to 4 hours of homework every night, and I still got pushed through because I had time management. And that is what you have to have. But you'll get real great things out of it if you have it. So yeah.
Thank you, Piper. Jasper?
I just think, you hear small school and like, but when you're really in it, like it's kind of a whole nother thing. I mean, every single person, except like the new 6th graders, my school is also middle school through high school. So except for like the really lower grades, you kind of know every single person, at least definitely everyone in the high school. And so that can sometimes feel a little bit claustrophobic, a little bit overwhelming when you don't have a little bit like any real room. So that I didn't really realize, and it took like 5 years of going there or whatever to really feel that. But I mean, it's still great, and I wouldn't want to switch it for a bigger school maybe, but it's just different, and you kind of have to experience it to really understand it.
Thank you, Jasper. Ari?
Yeah, I was gonna say the go to Quest and Learn, and one thing I wish someone told me about Quest and Learn is that it tends to get crowded because it's such a big school. Sometimes you're definitely gonna walk into like many people, and pretty much it.
Okay, Alex. Thank you, Ari.
Oh yeah, one thing I kind of wish I got a heads up on was like kind of the entire building itself, because I never toured the school when I got accepted into it, so only thing I showed up for was orientation, and then what normally happens, I would have showed up for school being completely lost. But luckily we do have this group of kids that reach out to all new freshmen and all new transfers that go around touring the building with getting them used to the teachers, and also they have opportunities for community service where you help out the teachers, either setting up classrooms or taking down stuff from classrooms at the beginning of summer and at the end of summer. And so I kind of wish I had knew more about that, but I did make up for it in the beginning of the year because of how helpful the environment in my school is.
Thank you. Daniel?
I wish that when I went into my school, I wish I knew how many people from middle school moved up to the high school. It was actually a lot more than I expected, and so a lot of the people already knew each other, and it was hard at first getting to know people. But everybody was pretty welcoming anyways, and and it's still a good experience. I now know everybody and I'm good with everyone, so yeah.
Thank you. Miles?
I transferred in, so it was a bit different for me from like applying to here and then coming. But I definitely would have liked it if like if I had like an older brother or somebody who told me like high school is just like, it's just hard in general, like not just the courses and not just getting ready for college, but also like how like you're figuring out who you are in the world, you know, and a lot of the time you don't have the supports for that, and everybody else is doing the same thing, so they're just as lost as you are, and it's really great to. I think it would have been better if I knew that beforehand. So when I came there, I could have been a little bit more like less shocked at like how much had to be done, you know. But yeah.
Thank you, Miles. Maureen?
Hi, Essex Academy. Honestly, I felt pretty well informed about the school prior to coming in. If there is one thing though, I also only attended the orientation. They did not have a tour that night. And so I didn't really get to see a layout of the school itself, or any of the classrooms really. So, I mean, I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you. Leanne?
One of the things, I guess there are two things. One of the main things is for the college program that it actually really is college. And you're part of the Bard College community, which is very, very large. Last summer, I took a class with the Open Society University Network, which was funded by Bard College. And so you're just part of this like huge community of academics as like a 17-year-old, and it's fantastic. And also one of the things that we do at the end of the college program that I really think was underhyped when I was applying is the inquiry project, which is sort of like a capstone for everything that you do in the college program. You research something that you're interested in and you spend essentially the entire second half plus a little bit more of your last year working on it. You write a really, really long paper and you present it, sort of like a senior thesis at a college. And I didn't really know about that when I came to BSEC, and now I have to start it. I'm starting it now, and I'm very, very excited. So I think it's a really great way to develop your passions and really do something for you academically. And I think if I had known about that, I would have been even more excited to come to Bard.
Thank you, Leanne. Luna?
I wish I knew that even though going in, I was super intimidated, that making friends, even though it is a bigger school, and finding my place was way, way easier than I expected. And that the workload is definitely way more manageable than people say it is, because I expected it to be way more work heavy than it is.
Okay, thanks. Madeline?
Yeah, I just wish I'd known more about like how you have to manage your time, because for a lot of classes you get homework for like the week, or like you get projects ahead of time. And so if you start all that stuff early, then the workload is very good. But if you save it all for last minute and don't manage your time correctly, then you just end up with a lot of work all at once. So yeah.
Thanks, Madeline. Erica?
Yeah, I really have to add on to what Miles said. Life happens, things happen, you know, like life isn't easy. And it's really hard to navigate that in high school as well. And high school is not a movie. Do not believe any of the high school movies you see on TV. It's not like the movies. If anything, it's better. I think it's not as fictional, but there are so many characters in the world, and it's really great to know each and every one of them, while it is hard. And I think it's really cool at my school because everyone's so unique and colorful and crazy that there's so many personalities you get to learn. But I really wish someone told me how hard the majors were, because we are a CTE school. We have to stick to a certain curriculum and a certain pace. And it is very like fast paced. I know a lot of the architecture students are struggling now with keeping up with all the projects. So I wish someone told me that, because I would have definitely got my time management in check before I came to school, because I suck with time management. So I ended up having like 6 hours of homework on a Friday when I had like a whole month to do all the work. And it can get crowded as well being in a big school. So I wish I knew that there was more organization with the stairs. And yeah, it was a little fun thing I learned coming into school is how colorful the hallways were. We had all the illustration and graphic design students design the hallways to make it look like the certain floor that was like specifics. Like the 11th floor is like mainly like the science floor. So we have a lot of like aquamarine colors and tiles and textures and like, I don't know, like crazy drawings. So something that was really great coming to the school is like all the fun floor designs.
Thank you. Augie?
I would say one of the things that I wish I had known a little more about before going to my school would be how we only have 2 AP options. And I really wanted to take AP US History, but we don't offer it. So I did wish that I had learned a little bit more before I had committed to the school. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. JP?
I wish someone would have told me how much I would value time management. Most of my classes are cumulative, which requires me to remember a lot of information from a long period of time. Although this is difficult, it ensures that I actually know the information since I'm keeping it in my mind for multiple months. And time management is the key to doing well in high school.
Thank you. Olivia?
I feel like the one thing that about lab is that it is a small school, like others have said. And the thing about small schools, especially in the building I go to, there's other schools as well. There's like the lab middle school and the museum. And so we only have 1 floor for our school, and it's like a circle. So it's like the same, and you're just walking in circles if you can't find a class. And like with a very busy hallway, even though it is a small school, that can get a little bit like stressful or annoying if people are blocking your way and you still don't know where you're going. Like that is, and all the halls look the same, which is another a little stressful thing. But something else I like wish I was told was to join clubs and teams and things like that early, because even though it's a small school, that's how you were to like make friends easily. And like I did come into the school with a bit of a friend group, so it wasn't too hard for me. But to be able to branch out, like I did see a lot of my friends join clubs and go on like basketball teams and stuff like that. And that was something that I missed out a little bit on because I was still a bit introverted, so I was a little shy and didn't want to. But yeah, that's just something that I wish I was like told.
Thanks, Olivia. Izzy?
Well, Elro, obviously I go to Elro, I forgot to state that, but Elro is really focused on intaking information and like really making sure that you have it in your brain. It's not really a school that's about just learning things and taking a test on it and forgetting them. And one thing that comes with that is the philosophy of doing a lot of assignments analog, which is not something that you'll see a lot anymore. So at Elro, a lot of our classes that are very writing heavy, a lot of the assignments are actually done on paper because there's a big belief at my school that if you write something down a bunch, you're really going to remember it a lot better. And for me, at least, it's actually helped a lot. But I think going into Elro, it was really unexpected because it does make the work take a lot longer having to write something out on paper. Like I'll have to do like multiple paragraphs, essays for homework, or multiple pages of history. And it all has to be done by hand. And when I went to middle school, everything was done on the computer. So it was definitely an adjustment, but I think it really works for me personally.
Thank you, guys. So we're at our last question, guys. So lightning round. What is your one piece of advice for current 8th grade students looking at NYC Public High School? What would be your one piece of advice you'd give an 8th grader that's looking at high school now? I'll start with Luna.
I would say definitely focus on your top schools rather than focusing on a lot of schools. And definitely keep your options open.
Okay, Ari?
I would say to look for schools that have like SAT prep courses available. For example, in Quest to Learn, there's a free SAT prep course, especially nowadays, like SAT classes are so expensive. So, you know, to have classes provided to you is something that you should look forward to, especially because the SAT is something very important. But yeah, and pretty much.
Thank you, Ari. Madeline?
I would just say like not to like, I don't know, don't get like too upset if you don't get into your top school or something, because pretty much all of my friends who didn't get into like their top schools are like very happy with where they ended up.
Thank you, Madeline. Augie?
I would say do a lot of research into schools that align with your interests, because I am very fortunate to find a school that I have been interested in for years. But I do know a lot of kids at my school who aren't necessarily into marine science and marine technology.
Okay, thank you. Jasper?
Yeah, sorry. Definitely don't base it off of friends, because you'll make those. And if it's not something that aligns with your direct passions, then you shouldn't go there. Think about like the future, because you're going to be there for like a lot of years. So like think about the electives that you're going to get, not just what's going to happen right then in 9th grade. So yeah, think longer term and align it with your interests.
Thank you. Piper?
I would say, yeah, definitely do research into your school. And I was lucky to like know someone who went to the school I wanted to go to. I knew Millennium was a perfect fit for me. I would say also try, if you can, like reach out to students there, or if you know friends who have older siblings at schools you want, like reach out to them. They will give you way better information and like more secret advice than a school website could. So yeah.
Thank you. Miles?
So I think that if I was speaking to an 8th grader, right, I'd just say, like, you know, when you're looking for your high school, don't focus entirely on how prestigious it is, or how name brand it is, or how, you know, good everybody says. Like, I mean, there's appeal to that, and there's great advantages that, like, I don't know, like CSS or like a really great high school is going to give you. But I think that you got to find a community that suits you before anything else. You know, these high schools might be great, but maybe you're just not the right fit for them, or they're not the right fit for you, you know, and that's entirely okay. But I think first and foremost, you got to find a place that you're going to be able to develop in, and you're going to be able to grow in for the next 4 years. And that's hard to do, but I think that's definitely what should be first and foremost on everybody's mind.
Thanks, Miles. Izzy?
I went to Salk, and at least in my experience, my middle school was incredibly competitive, and everywhere you looked, everyone was comparing themselves and their work and their intelligence and whatever they were doing to somebody else. There was always somebody else that was better than you. There was always somebody else that was worse than you. And throughout a lot of the high school application process, everybody was comparing themselves to each other constantly. And it was 100, 120 kids all competing for spots at like 3 or 4 schools. And I think that it's really important to keep in mind what is best for you, because a lot of the kids that ended up going to those 3 or 4 schools that I know now and I'm still in contact with aren't happy. Some of them transferred out of them to go somewhere else. You need to be focusing on you and what's best for your needs and what's best for your learning style, because it isn't about you going to the best school or acing your SHSAT if that's not something that's the right fit for you. It should be about your learning style and overall your happiness, not what your learning looks like from the outside or how it is compared to everybody else around you.
Thank you, Izzy. Olivia?
I really like the advice that Piper gave about reaching out to people if you like know that they go to that school and like getting like the inside scoop a little bit about what the school actually is and not just like what might be on the website. But another thing is really, feel like someone already kind of said this, but know how you learn best. And it might be hard because you are like in 8th grade and like you don't really know everything about yourself yet, which is fine. But try to like think about whether you do work better in like a big school or a small school, or like where you can have a close connection with your teachers and really like get that extra help, or if you prefer like a more pressured school so that like you might work better under pressure and things like that. Like just really try to figure that out. And you don't need to know, because like others said, you can transfer out if you really don't like it, and you can have like backup options and things like that. So I feel like just kind of like reach out and know a little bit about yourself, like as much as you can, to like be able to apply to certain schools.
Thank you, Olivia. Warren?
Hi, I would say to kind of keep your options open. It's not about like the name, like what Miles said, it's not about like the name your high school has or any high school has or how prestigious it's known to be. It's really about what's fit for you and your learning abilities and your interests as well. So yeah, really go for what you're interested in. Don't really worry about anyone else.
Thank you, Warren. Daniel?
Yeah, I really agree with Warren and Miles. It's more about trying to find that fit for you. Even if a school is known for being good, it might not be good for you. I found that out. I had that mentality of going to or trying to go to a name brand school, and then when I toured all of the big schools, didn't really care for them as much as I did for Eastside. And then when I went to tour for this like different school, I really enjoyed what they were doing here. And I think that the advice is just to be open to different things and trying to find what's good for you.
Thank you. Alex?
I agree with what Jasper and Olivia said about like not really going with your friends too much, but going with what suits you and what like suits your learning style and kind of the environment you want to be in, because you will make more and maybe even better friends in high school as you're with them for longer, and you're probably put through more like rigorous times, but also the environment you put yourself in will like carry you out for the rest of your life. Because after high school, there's college. After college, that's where you end up. And so you kind of have to think exactly what you want to do and where you want to be. Is this is like a really important time.
Thank you. Leanne?
I would say, I mean, don't sweat it. Go where your passions lead you. And that kind of sounds like, I guess, maybe MP advice if you haven't experienced it yet. But anywhere you go, any program you choose, you're going to find something that you love. I came to Bard and on a whim decided to take Latin, which 8th grade Leanne would have thought was totally whack. But I loved Latin at Bard, and I never would have thought to choose it. I just sort of decided, and now I'm thinking of being a classics major, and it's totally crazy. But anywhere you'll go, there's going to be someone interesting. I mean, all of us are here. So many people have given such fantastic advice, and we're all from different high schools. So there's no one school that you have to strive for, and there's no one program that you have to do, because look at everyone here. We're having such different experiences, but everyone's been so great all evening.
Thank you, Leanne. JP?
I'd say that always put your the choice that you can logically get into as your number one choice, and make sure that you'd be happy at the school. I know a lot of people that put unrealistic choices as their top ones and ended up going to their 11th or 12th place. And just make sure that you can actually get into the school that you want to attend.
Thank you, JP. And last but not least, Erica.
I think that everyone made an amazing points, and it's honestly making me struggle because I can't think of anything. But I have to say, at my school, something I guess unique, networking is key. I think in really any school, especially art and design, your teachers and your peers could be your coworkers or your bosses in your future life. So I think that's really interesting to take in. So networking, making a lot of friends, meeting a lot of people. Networking is important. And I think another thing is speaking up for yourself. Our school is very lenient with homeworks and due dates. I can't tell you how many times I've asked a teacher to push back a date because I just procrastinated until the last minute, and I needed some more time to perfect whatever I needed to do. So if you just, speak up, say, hey, I really need help with this, or I need more time on this. Teachers and peers are so helpful and supportive when it comes to work. So networking and speaking up for yourself, I think, are the two biggest things.
Thank you, Erica. And I want to give you guys a round of applause because you guys were so amazing, giving of your time and sharing your experience. Thank you so much. This was so helpful to our CB2 community. Thank you all. So you guys can, I don't know if you had supper yet, but you guys can head off and do that. Thank you guys. And I will follow up with a letter as I promised. Thank you guys. Bye. And for everyone left here, this was live streamed to Facebook as well. And so you can always come back to it and check out what our students have said. And for my CB2 members, I don't know if you wanted to say anything before we signed off, because it's just 8 o'clock. I mean, we did good on time.
They were amazing. They were just amazing. So much wisdom at such young age.
Yes, I'm proud. I was like, I'm proud of me.
You should be.
I didn't hear you said something, Mar?
Yeah, just ditto. They were so amazing. The kids were so amazing and wise beyond their years. I mean, just so impressive. This was great.
Thank you, guys. All right. I don't think we're gonna have business session, but this was something that the community had reached out to us saying that they wanted, and we tried to provide. And this was the second year we've done it. So I'm hoping that next year things are better. They can actually, parents and children can go and see their schools live and talk to the kids in person. Georgia, I see you up here. Hi, Georgia, one of our community board members. Did you want to say something?
Oh, I just think these young people were incredibly brave to speak so for such a long period of time and so openly and honestly in front of many adult strangers. So much braver than I. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Georgia.
And with or without real in-person tours, I think this is worth continuing, right? Because it's easy for parents to log on if we do it virtually, and there's a lot to be gained by having students from multiple schools in the same space. So
yes.
I think this should just become a new CB2 tradition moving forward.
Okay. Definitely. We will definitely continue it. We just have to find more kids, or I'm not sure how we do that, but yes. We had some seniors that are going off. We would have had more kids from other schools, but this time is when November, this early decision, the kids are doing their application. So it was hard to get other kids from other school to spend time with us tonight. And they're so stressed out. So I did not want to, stress them out any further. So I was happy to have the students that I had tonight. So thank you all. And I want to adjourn this meeting now. So I'll get a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Thank you. And so bye, guys. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Hi, Akila.